Man, I think that everyone saw that we kind of got some flow when Kate was hurt and our offense was clicking. But now we have to have a new offense when she's in there because she just brings that much to the game. And so we have to adjust. And I think all of us just want it now. We know what the potential of this team can be, but we can't think about that. You really have to take day to day and stuff that worked here, we need to carry it over to tomorrow's game. We have a lot of games coming up in I think like 7 days or whatnot. And so it's mentally making sure that we're good. It's physically making sure we're getting recovery, making sure we're taking care of our bodies off the court. But we're trying to figure it out. And I think you guys see it. I think we're all a little frustrated.
Kind of alluded to it earlier, but how difficult has it? Does it feel like you guys have had to toggle back and forth between identities with like Caitlin out, Caitlin's back, Caitlin out now, back and forth sort of thing?
Yeah, and it's no one's fault. I mean, no one wants to see anyone injured, right? And it's when she is playing with us, we play a different style of basketball, and it's almost like two different teams, right? When she's with us, you play a different style. When she's hurt, which hopefully she's done being hurt, Lord, please hear us. And then we play a whole nother different style. But I do think that once we catch rhythm with her in, we're going to be really, really good. But we can't just keep saying it. You got to put your money where your mouth is.
Stop the highlight reel mid-spin and roll the tape back to frame one, because the Indiana Fever just flipped a panic-stricken season narrative into a masterclass comeback that belongs in every How Champions Are Built documentary from here to eternity. 48 hours after dropping 2 games that felt like open mic nights for critics, Caitlin Clark and company marched into Gainbridge Fieldhouse and uncorked a 59-point second half, a 77% assist rate, and a locker room confrontation so intense it rattled light fixtures and then fused the roster tighter than carbon fiber. Sprinkle in Brittney Griner's still echoing trash talk from their last clash, add a whisper war between Clark's blistering pace demands and Coach Stephanie White's grind-it-out philosophy, and you've got more combustible material than an action movie vault. Yet instead of imploding, Indiana detonated on the scoreboard, shredding Atlanta 99-82 and reminding the league that the Fever bandwagon has plenty of room.
They're a great team, the Valkyries, but it's not to our standards. So we need to, we're running out of time, to be honest, and I think that it's going to light a fire under our butts, and so hopefully you'll see kind of that energy shift tomorrow. We're trying to figure out what's clicking, what's not clicking, what works for us defensively, but at the end of the day, I think what we can hang our hat on is not getting outworked, making sure that we're the aggressors, making sure that we're getting O-boards, controlling what we can control, and I think we need to do a better job at that, and if we can do that, I think stuff offensively will open up for us.
But standing passengers only. Strap in as we unpack every whistle, screen, and sideline scuffle that turned a season teetering on frustration into a thunderous announcement. These women still plan to write June, July, and August in boldface, when 2 bad losses feel like an avalanche. The slide didn't start with a single turnover. It began with a groin tweak felt across social media. Clark's absence versus Los Angeles yanked Indiana's ignition key just as the offense had started revving above league average. 2 nights later, she returned on a soft minutes cap against the expansion Golden State Valkyries, only to witness a defensive scheme that her teammates described as traffic cone drills. Imagine sprinting through wet cement. That was Indiana's half-court execution. Rotation stalwart Duresha Dantas was 5,000 miles away, wearing Brazil's green and gold, and White's depth chart looked like puzzle pieces from 2 different boxes. For a week,
Word in the street is Caitlin Clark told White to sit Kelsey Mitchell and Howard because they don't pass. Could be true. Caitlin went to tie her shoe. Like, that is something that I noticed. Like, Caitlin literally, when Natasha Howard had the ball, she didn't even look. She was basically walking back on defense. She essentially walked back on defense every time Natasha Howard had the ball. And by the way, if you guys didn't see Natasha Howard looked off Caitlin Clark to end the third quarter. She looked off Caitlin Clark to end the third quarter in what was just incredibly dumb.
Practice scrimmages resembled speed dating sessions. Clark pinged no-look lasers to cutters who forgot the choreography. Mitchell forced mid-range pull-ups because off-ball screens arrived late. Boston looked more like a decoy than a former top pick. Critics hammered White's insistence on foot-on-break tempo, claiming it bottled Clark's superpower, court-length vision that sees seams before defenders plant. White countered that the Fever coughed up the league's 3rd highest live ball turnover rate when they played at Mach 1, costing them transition points on the other end. The internet lit up with gifs of drag racers slamming brakes, Fans chimed under hashtag #FreeTheFastBreak, while analysts retorted with hashtag #ValueTheBall. Add Griner's previous meeting elbow and alleged "trash white girl" mutter, and Friday felt combustible. A national audience tuned in not only to evaluate whether Clark's groin would hold, but to see if Indiana's psyche would. Beat writers used words like fragile and identity crisis, because when a team's best shot creator is rehabbing, its high IQ forward is overseas, and its bench rotation toggles nightly, faith erodes quickly.
Look, Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White clearly like and respect one another, right? But that doesn't mean they always see eye to eye. And I am beginning to suspect more and more that there's a bit of a divide between the way that they see the game and the way that they think the Indiana Fever should play.
The Fever needed an anchor, or, as we discovered, a flashpoint argument that turned grievances into guardrails, pre-game pulse, and unspoken agendas. If you arrived 90 minutes early, you caught subtle tells. Clark warmed up in neon yellow compression sleeves, an open signal to trainers. Eyes on the legs, not the wrist. She sank corner threes, but spent equal time whipping one-handed baseball passes to ball attendants stationed at half court, almost daring Coach White to notice how clean the lanes looked without defenders. Meanwhile, White walked a slow circuit around the sideline, clipboard close to chest, whispering to assistants about defensive rotations and closing space before Canada turns the corner. Across the floor, Atlanta's Jordan Canada lobbed half-speed floaters, but each swish came with a side glance toward Clark, a subtle reminder of the 26-point first-half barrage she'd drop later. Griner stretched quietly, headphones in, no handshake extended, a nothing personal that felt plenty personal given last game's friction. Even the PA playlist hinted at stakes. Work by Rihanna during Fever layups. Time is running out by Muse as the Dream exited the tunnel. Marketing? Maybe. But after 2 straight gut check losses, every lyric seemed pointed. In the broadcast truck,
you can just hear what they have to say and connect the dots a little bit. Not to mention, it didn't go well against the Golden State Valkyries. That was obvious to everybody, of course. Just a rough performance from the Fever. And on its own, that wouldn't be that big a deal. Clark just back, getting her acclimated, all those things. But it's these repeated statements or this issue that seems to be lingering under the surface when it comes to the team's offensive identity that is interesting.
Producer Julio Grant scribbled a note. Watch for Fever tempo in first 5 minutes, decides broadcast narrative. Not to be outdone, Fever veteran Sophie Cunningham addressed teammates in the final huddle. Cameras didn't catch the speech, but sideline microphones leaked snippets. If they elbow one of us, they elbow all of us. Play fast when we rip. Play smart when we inbound. Let's make chase shadows. Players slapped the floor. A callback to collegiate roots. White's closing mantra used all of 3 words: consistency through chaos. Everything was set. The only variable, how many possessions would Indiana need to find a groove that had vanished during Clark's injury? They'd answer in exactly 20 minutes of game clock, but first came a half so uneven that even the Jumbotron seemed confused about which highlight to replay. Canada cooks, Fever fumble. Tip-off to halftime was a 2-act play starring Jordan Canada, with Indiana acting as reluctant supporting cast. It started innocently. High pick and roll, Canada curling left, draining a 15-footer over Clark's outstretched hand. But soon she flowed into a blur of hesitation drives, outside shoulder finishes, and one audacious logo triple that forced White into arms-crossed silence. Stat line at intermission.
Brittney Griner elbowing Caitlin Clark in a crazy way and then calling her a trash white girl.
And Brittney Griner has not commented, which I find significant. I've watched that video count.
Canada 10 of 13 shooting, 26 points, 3 assists. For perspective, only 3 players this year had reached 20.5, and none shredded an entire defense so single-handedly. 30 rows up. Fever fans slumped like wilted sunflowers. Indiana's offense, meanwhile, sputtered. Boston's first 2 touches resulted in forced hooks off back iron. Mitchell jacked contested pull-ups early in the shot clock. Clark drilled an open catch-and-shoot but bricked 4 step-backs when no teammate cut baseline. Possessions died in the coffin corner as Dream Chargers crowded passing lanes. White's methodical pace seemed to let Atlanta settle into half-court defense, and Clark's one-woman fast breaks found no wingmate sprinting. Yet within that struggle lived seeds of the second half bloom. Midway through the second quarter, Clark and Boston improvised a slip screen that yielded a free throw trip. On the very next Fever possession, Clark zipped a 28-foot laser to Cunningham, streaking for an and one. Those glimpses convinced Clark the lane was ripe, if only the team would commit to running. Down 45-40 at the half, Indiana's locker room became the stage for the season-altering conversation. Witnesses describe a semicircle of players opening Gatorades while Clark addressed White directly, voice firm, respectful but unyielding. "We're letting them pick us apart because we're static." White countered, "We can't sprint if the ball's coughing up." Clark pointed to the stat sheet, 11 turnovers, 6 of them off ill-timed ISOs. She insisted more pace would reduce turnovers by removing late clock bailouts. The argument simmered in front of everyone, a crucial decision. Private disagreement fosters whispers, public confrontation clarifies lines. By the end of the 5-minute exchange, 3 guidelines emerged. Run on every defensive rebound. Clark has first pitch. Guards fill lanes wide. If Atlanta scores, set horns through Boston. Slow is fine, but ball must touch 2 sides. Eliminate isolation dribbles longer than 3 seconds. Catch and go or swing. Players nodded and echoed consistency on D. This wasn't a mutiny. It was a tactical summit. They left the tunnel, a unified battalion. Third quarter. When theory meets thunder. Possession 1. Dantas wrestles Griner for a defensive board, outlets to Clark near the free throw stripe, and bolts ahead. 3 dribbles, 1 head fake to freeze Canada, and Clark bounce passes through a chalk-line window to a rim-running Boston, layup, plus the foul.
I just love it. I really do think this is a really unique and special team. In the locker room, we really do love each other. Like, we love spending time together. Our practices, I'm not going to lie, are long, and sometimes we have to hold hands and be like, hey, we're going to get through it. Right. But this is a team that I have never felt like this in the W. And I've been in it for 7 years. I know you've been in it for 8, you know, and so this is a special group that we have. And so when we can just go out there and have fun and be competitors and feed off of each other, it's just easy. And when people are smiling, like, you don't ever see Kels really get like that, but when we see her get like that, we're like, oh yeah, like we're in it, you know what I mean? And when other teams see that, it's game over. And so we're our best when we're having fun.
PA announcer barely announces before Boston slaps the scorer's table in approval. Possession 2. Clark rejects a screen, drives baseline for Dream Jersey's collapse, kick out to Mitchell, corner 3, splash. Fans who drove 2 hours from Bloomington exchange high fives with strangers. Remember those 11 first-half turnovers? Indiana commits 0 in the first 6 third-quarter minutes. Pace skyrockets from 93 to 102 possessions per 48 minutes. White, standing, lets Clark gesture play calls an unspoken concession. Meanwhile, defensive rotations sharpen like freshly honed blades. Dantas fronts Griner. Boston slides early backside. Cunningham body bumps Canada off driving lines. Mitchell stunts at passing lanes to coax floaters. The scoreboard flips after an 18-4 Indiana surge. Notably, half the buckets come via secondary break. Clark hits trailing Boston for a free throw line jumper, then finds Cunningham in rhythm left wing as Griner jogs back muttering. Atlanta calls timeout, and network cameras zoom on Clark chest bumping White. The earlier friction has alchemized into kinetic trust. Canada re-enters looking to replicate her first-half wizardry, but finds shadow defenders at every pivot. White's tweak. On-ball big shows then recovers wide, giving angles that invite the mid-range pull-up, but stationing help to contest. Canada misses 3 straight, then coughs up a live ball steal to Mitchell, who sprints the other way for a lefty finish.
Our team kind of got in a groove, honestly, when Kate got hurt. And we were playing good offense, good defense, but we're a whole different team when she isn't. And so we have to learn how to adjust, how to get her involved, how to keep people who are hot. And so just kind of learning that and then staying consistent in that. But the things that we can control is our effort, our energy, boxing out, defensive scouts, and that's what we got to hang our hat on.
Mid-quarter, Clark's jumper still misfires. She finishes the night one for 8 from deep, but she accumulates 5 assists in a 2:40 span. Hook pass to Boston for a drop step. Overhead skip to Cunningham for an open 3. Shovel to Dantas rolling. Quick hit lob reminiscent of her Iowa days. And a classic pocket bounce that splits defenders like parted seas. By quarter's end, Indiana leads 73-62. The roar inside Gainbridge hits playoff decibel levels. Stat overlay on the Jumbotron reads, Indiana runs 18 fast break points in Q3, most in any quarter this season. White turns to the bench, points to Clark, mouths, keep pushing. That's not surrender of coaching authority. That's synergy. Mitchell's show, Cunningham's grit, Clark's control, 370 words. Opening the final frame, Mitchell clearly senses blood. She sizes up Canada, dips shoulder, and darts past for an and one. She jaws, PG-friendly but still spicy, toward the dream bench. On the next possession, she drifts off a Cunningham pin down, rises from 26 feet, buries a triple, backpedals with 3 fingers raised. In 31 seconds, the gap balloons to 78-62, and Atlanta's body language looks like cut flowers in July sun. Cunningham, meanwhile, embodies what fever culture wants to be, 5'11" power in a Tasmanian devil wrapper. She rips boards over taller opponents, skids across hardwood for a save that sparks a Boston banker, and chest bumps so hard Clark nearly stumbles. When Griner tries to back her down on a switch, Cunningham plants feet, absorbs 2 bumps, and forces a turnaround miss. Clark's scoring line remains modest, but her fingerprints are everywhere. Manipulating pace, audible calling second side action, using hesitation dribbles to pull both low-man defenders before whipping one-handers to weak side cutters. With 4:12 remaining, she finally drills her lone 3, trailing semi-transition, catch from Boston, quick dip, money. She pumps a single fist, nothing theatrical, because the scoreboard already reads 91-75. Atlanta scrambles into full-court press. Clark dribbles through traffic like a pianist running scales, resets offense with 16 on the shot clock, and instructs teammates to burn time via flare screens that chew seconds without losing threat. White empties the bench at 1:30, but keeps Clark and Boston seated together at the front of the sideline. Visual of unity. Horn sounds.
Yeah, I mean, it feels good. I think that our team has enough offensive threats that we should have 5 to 6 people in double figures every single night when we move the ball. When the ball is popping, we're a really hard team to guard. Again, we have to be disciplined on defense. We can get easy buckets in transition, but I think offensively, when the ball is popping, we're a hard team to guard in the W.
Indiana 99, Atlanta 82. 3 Fever players post double-doubles. Cunningham 16-10, Boston 19-6-8 dimes, Clark flirting with 12-9-6. Mitchell's 25 leads all scorers. Canada's second half line, 0 points, 4 turnovers, a -18. Griner finishes a pedestrian 11 points, 5 boards, 3 scowls. But the line everyone remembers, 27 assists on 35 makes that shimmering 77% synergy that transforms good teams into nightmares. Locker room afterglow and media spin. Post-game, tunnel resembles a music festival. Local beat writer Jasmine Banks tweets, "They're literally singing Louis Capaldi at full blast." Clark exits first, towel twirling overhead, high-fives every ball kid. She stops for a quick on-court interview. "We're best when we run and share. Tonight we did both." White steps in, patting Clark's back. When they dictate pace with defense, that's Fever basketball. Inside the press room, questions inevitably circle the halftime exchange. Clark offers diplomacy. "We disagreed, then aligned." Great teams embrace hard conversations. White adds, "I'm proud of her leadership and of our vets trusting the tweaks." Reporters notice Mitchell nodding vigorously from the doorway. Cunningham chimes from the back row, unconventional as ever. "Y'all see those assists though?" Everyone laughs. Tension evaporates. ESPN's headline reads, "Fever flush frustration. Find fast break formula." The following morning, Inside tweets advanced data. Clark strives per game jump from 9 to 14 and wins. Boston touches in high post double. Indiana's offensive rating climbs 11 points when the pace hits triple digits. Analysts on the jump discuss whether this game proves Clark and White can co-pilot rather than clash. Kendrick Perkins declares, "Caitlin's the engine, but Stephanie's the Jeeps tonight. They synced up like Bluetooth." Fan reaction is equally split between relief and elation. Top YouTube highlights compile Clark's 9 assists over chilled hip-hop beats. The comment section fills with "I've got the fever" hashtags. Merchandise partner Hoosier Threads reports a 70% spike in sales of its new Run Indie Run Tease featuring cartoon Boston throwing outlet passes. National media pivot. Earlier chatter about backcourt turmoil morphs into think pieces about healthy friction. Winsiders Tamika Green writes, White permitting conflict while preserving respect could be the blueprint for coaching Generation Z superstars. Even rival coaches take notice. New York Liberty's Sandy Brondello quips in her presser, Guess we better pack our track spikes next Tuesday. Strategic deep dive. Why the adjustment worked. 420 words. Defensive catalysts. Show and recover big coverage. Indiana used Boston and Dantas to flash at Canada, then scurry to shooters, daring non-shooters to launch. Canada's pull-ups dried instantly. Weak side gap shrinkage. Guards slid one step deeper off slot shooters to crowd lanes, trusting Atlanta's 29% team three-point mark. Result? Dream went 2, 4, 11 from deep after halftime. Offensive catalysts. Rebound and run trigger. Any guard or forward who secured a defensive board sought Clark within 2 seconds. That ignited 16 fast break points in Q3 alone. Horns high facilitate. When Atlanta scored, Fever initiated via Boston at elbow. From there, handoff into pick and roll or flare to Clark curling. The dual threats pulled rim protectors into no man's land. 0-2-3 rule. No player held the ball longer than 3 seconds without dribbling or passing, documented on film as emphasis. That erased the isolation static from LA loss. Psychological catalysts. Halftime transparency turned frustration into clarity. Players understood why roles shifted, not just that they shifted. Research in team dynamics calls this task conflict over relationship conflict. Revenge motivation versus Griner's previous slight layered emotional urgency. Cunningham even admitted she printed the trash talk quote and taped it to her locker. Outcome metrics. Offensive rating first half, 89.3. Second half, 122.5. Best half of the season. Turnovers. First half 11, second half 4. Pace. From 93.2 to 101.7 possessions, 48. Boston touches high post. From 6 to 16. Clark potential assists, from 5 to 14. Analysts may debate which factor mattered most, but synergy is rarely single-threaded.
At that this year, you've seen spurts of it that we were really good, but again, our word is like consistency, together and consistency. And so for us, it's being aggressive at the point of attack. And I really do think that when we're aggressive from the jump, it sets a tone for the whole game. And so sucks to suck, it's on the starting five to kind of do that. So good luck, Kels. But I really do think that when we're in it together and we're aggressive on both ends, we're just a really tough team.
The Fever shift was like tuning guitar strings. Each tightened notch improved harmony until the chord rang true. Playoff picture and personal growth, 310 words. The victory nudges Indiana to 10-9, fifth in a jostling playoff queue where seeds 4 to 8 are separated by 2 games. More crucially, it clarifies identity. They now own a blueprint usable against tempo-switching teams, defend with aggression first 5 seconds, leak out on rebounds, organize through Boston when forced half-court. Clark leaves the arena healthy, groin tested by 35 minutes, and with an assist-to-turnover ratio trending back above 2-1. White, criticized for overcalling sets, proves adaptable. Boston notches career-high dimes, flashing passing chops reminiscent of South Carolina's national title run. Mitchell re-enters 6th Woman of the Year chatter. The schedule, however, sharpens like a grindstone. Sun, Liberty, Aces, Wings, all in 9 days. That gauntlet will reveal whether Friday's surge was adrenaline or architecture. White says post-practice, trust isn't earned once. It's re-earned nightly. Clark echoes on Instagram. Practice at 9, film at noon, treatment at 3, together. League eyes bigger storylines. Rookie of the Year race resets. Clark gains momentum not by volume scoring, but by instrumental orchestration. Coach of the Year ballots glance at White if her team keeps pace while integrating high-usage star midseason. And national TV execs? They circle the July calendar. Nothing draws eyeballs like high-tempo hoops plus a star who can dish, defuse, and detonate. Culture over clapbacks. Great teams aren't built without friction. Steel is forged, not assembled. Friday's halftime discussion became the crucible that turned raw minerals, talent, competitiveness, pride into tempered alloy. Clark needed to speak. White needed to listen. Teammates needed to witness unified resolution. Out of that came a shared sermon. Pace married to purpose equals power. Cunningham's post-game line resonates. When we're smiling, it's game over for them. Behind the grin is sweat equity. Those long practices she referenced, the lock-in sessions dissecting defensive tape, the mental lifts where players verbalize roles so confusion can't creep in at game speed. Joy isn't accidental. It's constructed on groundwork that includes moments of uncomfortable honesty. As fans file out chanting, "I've got the fever," remember they were chanting something far harsher 3 nights prior. That's sports, a pendulum. But championships come when the pendulum swing is harnessed, not feared. Indiana just built the first bracket of that harness. Will the next week bring stumbles? Almost assuredly. But stumbles won't shatter identity the way they might have before Atlanta. Because now there's a playbook. Confront, align, sprint, share, smile. If you believe this ignition wasn't a spark, but the opening salvo of a season-long fireworks show, drop "I've got the fever" in the comments, subscribe for every behind-the-curtain breakdown, and buckle that seatbelt, because this train just shifted tracks from cautionary tale to contender timeline, and it's picking up speed by the quarter.